Hello and welcome to the Tech Leadership Series. And today, in this particular discussion, we have Rohit Singhal, who is heading cybersecurity operation Asia Pacific region for HSBC, and he also looks at he also works as a site leader for cybersecurity HTI entity in HSBC, which has a little bit local role that he has basically. So what we'll like to discuss in today's interaction is one is the building these global defense centers and security operations and governance ecosystem around built on those operations basically, and the evaluation that really made that possible in the last 3-4 years of time basically. And Rohit had been building that at HSBC. So we would like to understand how the entire banking industry, which is global in nature, it's something like HSBC, has been building such kind of operation. And in the process, what are those learning? What are the challenges? What are those issues that we had been encountering, and which are the ways basically to really solve those issues and challenges and problem, and at the same time also reap on the opportunities and coming on the way basically, because all that will be important for the way things will be going from now in coming 3-4 years of time basically. So Rohit, we can start with you telling us how these operations are built, right? And especially for the global organization like HSBC.
So, firstly, thanks Vinayak, thanks NASSCOM, for hosting me and having me over here. Privileged to be, part of this discussion today. So Vinayak, coming from a background of cybersecurity, and I have been working in financial institution and setting up cybersecurity operations and technology for most of the large bank, over the 2 decades now. What I see the difference in cybersecurity. So the cybersecurity is constantly evolving, right? So it is impacting all of us. It's not only about the industry or any particular thing that we can talk about, but it is impacting all of us. And I'm sure that the threat actor in an industry has been evolved over the period of time. Organization has been shifting from a traditional or legacy of having a centralized operations to more of a dispersed and geography specific cybersecurity operations, especially to have a better defense for the largest financial institutions like HSBC. Most of the companies are following the same. Now, talking about the few of the experiences of what I've seen in past versus now. The As I said, the threat vector has evolved. The challenges of the tools and the capabilities and the defense technology that we use in the bank has also been evolved, right, over the period of years. Threat actors are always tend to be, ahead us. However, our job is not to, to run behind them, but to protect an organization. And so that's the key motive and the defense tactics that we use. Now, for the largest bank, the first thing that when I joined over here, the key challenge was to set up a cybersecurity operations center, hire the right skill set of people, train them in line with the bank regulated requirements, and train them on the technology that we use, and how to adapt and follow the right framework to defend from the bad actors. Now, the key thing, while we do on hire the talent, is also the infrastructure that really matters. We need to have the right level of tool sets. We need to have the right level of facility for the team to operate. For any cybersecurity operations, collaboration is key. And so having the right level of collaboration and that space and the visualization graphics, we can see, from where the bad actors are attacking the banks, the tools that it is getting detected, the right level of alerts that comes to our system needs to be orchestrated and automated over the period of time. Now we have seen, the key thing that we see, we have to adapt to certain framework. We have to abide with certain right level of framework for us to build our technology on.
Yeah.
So as most of the banks adapted, we also adapted MITRE ATT&CK framework, which gives the right level of the TTPs that helps us to build the use cases for our detection.
So Rohit, let's come to that because I have a specific question to you for you to on that particular way, right? So, but before we really come to that, I want to really understand this global nature of the defense that you are building, right? And from the centralized way to decentralized way, right? Is the only timeline is because you need to have the defense 24/7 and you need to have done that while shifting team from one location to other location, taking care of the rest of defense. Is only time zone is a consideration, or how do you say it? Like one is the decentralized way, other is the time zone benefit can be also looked at. But what are other things which goes in terms of building that global defense basically and setting up those defense center which is global in nature, distributed in nature basically?
So when we started the strategy to build upon, we wanted to cover the three core continents: Asia, Europe, and America. So those are the three continents to cover. And yes, it is one definitely follow the sun model, having covering different geographies. We don't want to do a graveyard shift from one location where it is not a sustainable model any longer. Right. So we adapted with three core locations from Asia, from Europe, and from Americas. Bank has got a strategic locations in terms of in India, in Europe, we went ahead with Poland and Mexico in Americas region. And so that the core strategic center and the way it was designed was to have similar organization structure for the cybersecurity operations, similar look and feel of the facility, similar level of skill, not kind of a skill set, I would say, but same level of people, same structure across three geographies, covering 24/7, 365 days of support. Right? And then there were certain operational disciplines that we went ahead and set up. So operations is something that needs to be handed over to a different geographies in a defined manner. Right? So in order to have the continuous defense monitoring, continuous incident handling, as well as continuous threat monitoring, threat intelligence monitoring from an external threats perspective. So we formed that model. We had a standardized, and it's general in the industry practice as well, have a proper handovers, to different regions, from India to Europe and Europe to Americas and back from Americas to India. Now with the key thing, and when we started, and in any organization, in the large organization, when we try to build up operations, we see a lot of kind of non-events, or I would not say false positives, but unknown events that comes into any operations. So the orchestration and automation and following more of a risk-based approach helped us to enrich the events that comes into the SOC. That reduced the volume, give any analyst a focused monitoring on the real threats and have a guided approach for them to take the right decision to defend the bank. So that's the approach that most of the
so this is a passing baton, right, from one location to other location, and as you said, it's very identical in nature, and probably that capability, the level wise, also mostly identical. But also sometimes in some area it will be very complementary as well. Some specialization you build it in India that may be complementing with the specialties that you're building in other, or in case of Americas or in Europe basically. So one is the identical in nature and you pass on the baton from one location to other location depending on the time zone. Another is the complementary specialty as well. Can you help understand this?
So that's a good question, Vinayak. So I really appreciate that. So yeah, so that's something that comes up if you see the nature of the threats in the different three continents. Americas are generally hit by the threats related to, in Latin America, we see most of the ATM related threats.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So and those are very sophisticated attacks that that any organization sees. Same with HSBC as well. Now with that, the center of excellence of how we build our skills and then kind of uplift the forensic capability and try to build the controls around protecting the ATM related thefts was something specialized in that region, in Latin America, Americas region. We came up with, and in specifically if I have to say in Asia, we see a lot of enumeration scan and DDoS related things and Swift related attacks comes generally in Asia. If you see the industry trend, that's where we tend to see. Europe is mainly hit by generalized phishing campaigns as well as ransomware that generally tend to see in that region. So we have that kind of a excellence built in all those three capability centers. In line with our industry standards, with aligned framework, that expertise is something that has been cross-functionally shared and implemented, to have the right level of controls across all the geographies, not only in one particular region, but in all the regions. Globally, we tend to have a capability, and we now in an industry we see a lot of zero-day related vulnerabilities that comes out, right? Our systems have to be qualified and capable in order to protect, from a zero-day vulnerability, because it's hardly any information that is available for any bank, right? Yeah. So it becomes extremely difficult of how bank goes and defend against zero-day exploits that are in the wild. The banks generally adapt on artificial intelligence-led detection capability. If they say any anomaly in the behavior or the patterns, right defensive controls or the triage actions are initiated. So that's the way we operate in terms of defending from the emerging threats that we see.
Now, you also mentioned that locally you also source capability, right, and services as well, right? So help us, means apart from your own team, right? So there's an ecosystem also works with you, right? And there are players that you also rely on basically. So in the local geography, as you are also site engineer for the local geography. So apart from this global role that you play basically, so help us understand the role that needs you to focus locally as
well. So yeah, so from a local perspective, so from a site capability perspective, from the kind of an alerts and the region that we manage is more regulated. So if I have to say, East Asia time zone that I cover and I lead, I see a lot of regulators are demanding, right? So even the new certain regulations that is getting implemented, and it's good, it's really required for us to be more transparent, more agile. Same goes with even the lot of regulatory transformation that we are seeing from HKMA from Hong Kong and MAS and other regulations in Australia. It becomes extremely difficult for us to whenever it comes to an incident, to define that this is actually a cyber incident or a misconfiguration incident or something which is a benign that needs to be articulated in a language where regulators should take it in the right manner, right? Yeah. Whether should take a right decision, whether it needs to be reported or should not be reported.
Yeah. Yeah.
Based on the impact rating and various other factors, there is a decision that needs to be made. Now, from my perspective, the team is capable enough to articulate and have the right level of incident response procedure that we have built to follow. All the incident responses, the procedures that we follow, and that's based on NIST guidelines, NIST framework.
Yeah, so the question in that reads, so on one hand, we believe that defense has to be global, and we are increasingly developing capability, operations, and setup as well in global in nature, basically. And we know that out there something somewhere could happen to you. Even if it is not happening to you, it could happen to you, basically. And that's why we are building that global defense for us. But while regulations are becoming more specific to the local requirement, basically, right? And they are pushing you more towards the local issues and problems and challenges, basically. I'm not really trying to debate whether they are good or kind of challenges create for you or not, basically. So what I'm trying to ask question is, how do you stitch that together, basically? So one is the operations are global and then some requirements are local. So how do you stitch together with that complexity as well, is still able to maintain some baseline device for overall security posture of a large banking installation?
So the way it has been designed, it's like it is more of an intelligence-led defense capability that has been built. It is more about the way we have our intelligence center set up. It is not dependent more on the feeds that we take from customized from the vendors and other things. We have our own the intelligence sensors. Generally, most of the banks use or adapt that. One unique thing that we do, we partner with our regulators in intelligence sharing.
Yeah.
Right? We also support community, and this is what how the industry has been evolved now. That has changed now. It is more of an intelligence led. So if I'm seeing something wrong, that is happening, for other banks or something, it becomes a moral responsibility to report, and it becomes to share that intel information, through our right appropriate channels, and that's what we also have been doing and partnering regularly on that. Now, from a defense perspective, one is the external threat researchers, one are the internal threat researchers who work hand in hand in conjunction to defend the bank proactively of whatever we called it as an indicators of compromise that we see on internet. So that's how that works hand in hand, external researchers versus internal threat hunters that any banks have.
Yeah. So also, and you also talked about orchestration automation. I'm sure there are a lot of technology solutions available out there in security, which can help you to really automate your security, which can help you to build that intelligence layer, and which can also help you to orchestrate all of those small elements that need to be taken care of and probably provide that automated, effective, productive response. But still, I think until now, when we used to talk about security, we always talk about managing security, operating security, right? But how much part of that now is coming to building security? Because I had seen that change happening in most of the organizations. They're not only managing and operating, but they're also building. So they're also putting engineers to take care of, because a lot of engineering skills and capabilities are getting invested, even if there are a lot of market solution available in the current context, actually.
Right, Vinayak. And that's something that that has been led, and we are also leading from the front on that space. While we have immense amount of data and the knowledge and experience that we have seen over the years, with the patterns and with the alerts that we have seen, information that we have gathered, we have a kind of a industry-led function called as cyber sciences. It's building up our own data lake. So when I say building our own data lake, that would be more of a orchestration and understanding, how, what my risk levels are, and can predict, say for example, if I'm getting 100 alerts per day and it will exponentially increase over the period of time, I can't add, the resources to, deal with those alerts that gets fired in. So with that intelligence, orchestration and automation that we are building, we are more focusing towards risk-based approach rather than following a traditional methods of working only on the alerts. So a risk scoring. Second, building a data lake that will help that will help the bank to defend in an intelligent way to protect and have the four quadrants of the cybersecurity layer to protect from the emerging threats. Instead of adding the resources, it is more of an intelligence-based decision making for the right level.
Yeah, and I say out there will be some people, you in a way started on ground zero, right? And build this to and brought this to this level basically. Out there will be somebody who will be also thinking about we should also build the uh, such kind of global defense. So help us understand the journey. So how you started at a ground zero and how you evolved to come to this level.
So, for any organization, who is trying to set up the cybersecurity operations, um, it's the first important thing, because it's to identify and understand the market. Because market in today's world has become extremely competitive, and extremely difficult to hire the competitive talents.
Yeah.
So how we went ahead and as a best practice that I can share, for any organization to set up the security operations center for the large bank, global bank, is to start with the right organizational structure, um, have the strategy defined, right level of technologies and processes in place, and have a very crisp and measured job descriptions, to attract the talent. Right. Half of the thing that when I started, for setting up the team ground zero, is to have a multiple revisions of my job description. Job description is the first thing where the candidate looks at and has to be attractive to do, where they're landing to. And in any of the interviews that we do, for hiring, is to give a candidate a vision and a strategy of what we're looking at, how their career progression will look like. It is extremely, it is easy to hire the talent at one place, I would say, but it is extremely difficult to retain the talent in cybersecurity operations for a longer period. So that longer vision journey and giving the right level of platform for one to work is extremely essential to build a robust, strong cybersecurity operations center. Second, as I said, the facility, the tools, and standard processes. An extremely good learning culture is what I would say is required for any cyber professionals and for any large centers that we are building. So it is all about the people taking the right decisions, but ensuring that that culture is extremely important.
And also you must be also looking at a pipeline, right? So
Yeah.
one is the existing, but things do get evolved, expanded in cybersecurity. So how do you build the pipeline for the next task, next expansion that you must be thinking?
So there is always a the cat and rice in hiring and creating a pipeline in cyberspace. So the way we look at in terms of creating a pipeline, yes, there are ways and means of retaining the talent and creating the pipeline basis on the future skill sets of what a bank is adopting to. From a tech transformation, if business is moving more towards the cloud journey and the strategy is shifting towards the cloud defense mechanism, we try to tap in the market through various means, in order to create the pipeline by organizing conferences, talking about the work that the bank is doing towards an industry, and creating and attracting the talent from a buzzword of what the large bank is doing in order to create that ecosystem for a thing. So that's one. Second, even internally, we promote our people to be cyber averse, to learn more about technologies, so that we can give an opportunity and create a talent pipeline even internally within the bank, and and can help us to build that system with their career progression and journey from moving into the different functions into cybersecurity. Right?
Yeah,
So
I'm
that
seeing that. Yes, I'm seeing very interesting trends, right? So even some cybersecurity teams are even creating quite a good brand value for
yeah,
them, right? Internally, to create a template, attract more talent to cybersecurity, and more importantly, because we also host event in cybersecurity. So usually you'll see only technology providers come and sponsor, we partner with you. But I think increasingly now our events are being used to really market the capability, market the work that you do, and to attract the talent. So talent attraction is definitely one of the key thing that I'm seeing coming from the user company, technology user company like HSBC.
That's the right platform, right? Where we can, we generally sponsor and come and talk about what new is being done in the cyberspace, and that's the right way of market and showcase the work that the largest bank is doing.
Yeah. So another uh, question I have is largely is, and probably then after that I will have one more question probably to conclude the discussion. So one is the so in all these process, basically the external ecosystem plays a important role. So nowadays people say that security is definitely much beyond from the operation, much above the operations management. Operations are critical, management and even governance as well. Security is also part of the innovation, right? Security is also part of basically engaging entire third-party ecosystem and helping you to contribute to the business growth, business new possibilities of business basically. So help us understand, like the technology is also evolving, the clouds are coming, many other new emerging technologies coming basically, and most of the time financial sector seems to be leading in adoption of technology. So in that sense, the external ecosystem must be helping you with the innovation agenda, helping you with some digitization agenda and embedding security and privacy in that. So help us understand that how you engage with external ecosystem.
So yeah, so external ecosystem plays an extremely pivotal role. With the evolving technology that is there in the space, and we constantly evaluate them and partner with our external, the partners that we use their technology. Uh, it is not purely, I would say, the cloud based, but yes, we have generally the banks follow a pretty regulated and the
Yeah.
conservative approach of adapting the technology on their own cloud provider versus the public cloud provider. We the same thing is being followed, and I think that's an extremely wise to do. From a we don't believe in highly customizing the external products that we take, but we tend to use and effectively implement to partner with our external vendors and partners to have the right sized implementation for the bank to get a best out of it, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that we partner with our external ecosystem. Plus we also help them in terms of our needs and the way we are seeing and experiencing the new threats, how we can enhance the product and how we can build that in a partnership. So it's not something just a one way, but it's kind of a two ways of working together and partnering with an external ecosystem to come up with a better product in an industry, to build that. And I think banks are now doing this. Most of the large banks are doing the same thing and investing into the products as well, and
Yeah,
investing
I
in
mean, I'm
product.
seeing that happening, right? So even the significant investments are coming from the banks, right? So
Right,
the large banks are becoming key investors in cybersecurity product, which
right,
is a quite an
absolutely.
interesting trend I'm seeing in last couple of years time. I'm seeing that it's very big shift happening. So right, like so we discuss at least some ground on terms of how it started and how it has been built and what are different nuances that needs to be thought about, and especially how you are building, evolving. Also you also talk about automating, orchestrating. So there's definitely every security solution now talks about automation and orchestration and automated response, systematization and automation of the response basically. And largely external technology ecosystem is also doing that, and you also are building your own team to help you automate much better, orchestrate much better basically. So somebody out there, maybe a new fresh engineer or somebody is looking at cybersecurity as a career area basically. So from now in next 2 3 years of time, so do you see the demand of security skill set talent will be rising, or because of automation and orchestration we talk about, it will be going down? If it is rising, which area basically it will rise, and which of the area basically which may taper down in coming future?
So I see Vinayak, definitely, people element can't replace anything in an industry. So do we, how much we can automate and how much we can customize, but we would need people to take the right decision, right? So over the coming years, I see that the cyber skill set and the resources that any organization hires will keep on increasing. However, the skill set may vary as we see a lot of the transformation that are happening from from a cloud journeys perspective, from the different level of skill set that we are seeing in cloud space, in cloud defense space, that will evolve over the period of time. Yes, that would come with an additional knowledge on artificial intelligence, machine learning, and pattern-based, learning. But yes, that skill set would be added to the cyber. It won't be a traditional cyber skills of only running the tools and working on the standard checklist, but it will come up with an additional knowledge on cloud, AI, and ML space.
Yeah, and adding the knowledge and abilities based on basically the way the technology is emerging, but also adding your own value, right? Adding your own thinking, adding your own capabilities on top of what is happening is very important.
Yeah.
So this is really interesting discussion, Rohit, and thanks for coming and helping us to really until how things are evolving in terms of building that global cyber defense. And um, uh, many of the audience here, maybe large organization, a small startup, or probably some small SMB companies are more important. The people who are willing to look at joining the cybersecurity as a profession, basically, this discussion was quite would prove as a quite useful and critical discussion. Thanks for coming and helping us with this, Rohit, and thank you HSBC team also helping us setting up this discussion.
Thank you so much, Vinayak. Really appreciate talking with you. Thank you.